Hello Lifetime Health and Fitness class. We're going to go ahead and continue with Lab 6.2. If you recall, we did Part 1 during our 6.1 tutorial. However, we're going to go ahead and continue on through the remaining steps in 6.2. You cannot move on to 6.2 without doing 6.1 because we need to calculate our current body fat. So I've taken the liberty of going ahead and plugging in my numbers, and again, all this information was off my 6.1. Took my current body weight, which is 170 pounds. You'll need to plug in your own in pounds. My current body fat percentage, again, this was from Lab 6.1, so look back and retrieve that. And my current BMI, that too was calculated in 6.1. We went ahead and we set a goal. So in this case, I set a goal of 12 to 15% body fat, and that, again, that was from page 145. If you look in that first and second column, you can determine what the ideal body fat range is for you, whether you're going with general, public health, or athletic standards. And then the same thing with BMI. Go ahead and set your range, what's appropriate for you, and if you look at the table on page 146, that can help you. I set mine at 23 to 24, which would seem a little high. However, I also know that I have a little more muscle mass, and BMI is not going to differentiate between lean mass and fat mass. So this is just knowing my body type a little bit. So let's go ahead and move on to step 1. I'm going to put in my current body fat, which is 0.20, or the same as 20%. We have this here, and that's going to go ahead and calculate that automatically for me over here. So if I put that number back in, for example, and I put 0.20, it'll automatically calculate it for me over here. On step 2, we're going to calculate our fat-free mass. Well, if you look here, that's our number it's been calculated here, so I put in the 0.80. I take that times my current body weight, which is 170 pounds, and now I know I'm left with 136 pounds in fat-free mass. You go ahead again, put in your appropriate fat-free mass, take that times your body weight in pounds, and it will calculate that amount of fat-free weight for yourself too. So taking that 136, or my fat-free weight, I'll plug that into step 3. But then I need to go back to calculating my range. So in this case, if I use the upper part of my range, which is 15%, again, I took that from right here, and I took that from page 145 in the 6th edition of your text, and that calculates my optimal body weight to be 160. But I need a range, so that's the upper limit. I also know that I set my range at 12 to 15%. So if I put 12 in here and I calculate it, you notice that I end up with 154.55 pounds, or I'll go ahead and round that to 156 pounds. So that takes care of step 3. So let's go up to step 4. Let's calculate my BMI based on my optimal weight range. So if I want to show you this on the calculator, what I'm going to do, if I take my optimal weight range, which is 154.6, and I divide that by 3, I apologize. So if I take the 154.6 and I divide that by 2.2, I end up with 70.3. The reason I divided that by 2.2 is because I'm converting back into kilograms. So I'm at 70.3. And I'm going to divide that by my height in meters squared. And I know this to be 3. And I end up with 23.4, and thus the 23.4 here. If you want to know where I got that from, if I go back to my 6.1, I've already calculated it right here. I looked at my BMI. Here is my height in meters squared. I divided that by 3. So if you go back to 6.1, find that number, that's how you'll divide that out. I'm going to do the same thing for the upper end of my range. So I know I was 160 pounds. I need to divide that by 2.2, which converts it into kilograms. I end up with 72.7. So if I take 72.7 and divide that by my height in meters squared, which again was 3 from Lab 6.1, I end up with the 24.2. So let's go ahead and calculate part 2 here are using or finding my desired goal weight just using BMI. So right up towards the top, remember I chose 23 to 24 range. I'm going to come back to this number, and this one is fairly simple. If I take my 23 goal BMI and I take that times, okay, see, here's my desired BMI, and I take that times my height, meters squared. Again, I know that's 3. That's going to be 69. 69 kilograms. You'll note that I have 152 here. The way I got to that number was I took the 69, now I need to convert from kilograms back into pounds. So take that times 2.2. So we're taking it times 2.2 as opposed to dividing it. And I end up with 151.8, or roughly 152 pounds. Now I'll do the exact same process for the upper end range. Again, for me, I selected 24. Take that times my height in meters squared, which was 3. I end up with 72. Again, I'm going to convert mine back into pounds, so I'll take that times 2.2, and I end up with the 158. So again, you're going to know, so if I look at part 2 here, if I use my BMI to calculate my desired goal weight, 152 to 158, you're going to see that that's fairly consistent with what I calculated for my optimal weight using body fat percentage, so 154 to 160. That will not be the case for all of you. Some of you will find that those numbers are completely different, and that's because, for various reasons, and you should check out that information in your textbook to figure out what is the difference between calculating using the BMI and calculating using actual skin fat, or I'm sorry, using your calipers and determining your body fat percentage. And you can fill in questions 1 and 2. So that should go ahead and complete your labs 6.1 and 6.2. If you have any questions, you can contact me at any time.